在这个被 AI 和短视频支配的时代，谁还记得2000年前已经有人敢怒问苍天？屈原一位诗人，也是一位灵魂发问者。在江河未开、群山未立的洪荒岁月，他早就发出了我们今天都在问的终极疑问：世界为什么是这样的？如果你也有这种时不时灵魂发疯的瞬间，别划走，今天聊聊屈原。
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? So this is like a very big question. This is like life question. This was we've been studying in class and coming back to it. What is human life? Who are we? Why are we here? Time, and we kind of honor Chu Yuan, this poet that lived in the warring state in China. That he was asking this question. He was asking the same question. And the story, the legend that we have about Chu Yuan was that he was this brilliant statesman, brilliant poet, brilliant philosopher, and was his contribution to the court, to the state of Chu, wasn't appreciated. Not only wasn't appreciated, but he was exiled. Some rumors, some slander was addressed towards him, and the emperor exiled him to south of China. And he was so heartbroken that the story tells us that he traveled, in the forests and rivers and slept in abandoned temples, and then wrote on the walls of these abandoned temples what became known later, these questions of heaven. I'm always trying to visualize what Chu Yuan might have looked like. So we had a performance this last weekend. We had a performance at Evergreen celebrating Asian heritage. And there was an actor there that I was very impressed. Like, he had a very strong face. I said, well, maybe Chu Yuan looked like that. I don't know. Does that look like Chu Yuan to you? Like, how would you picture Chu Yuan? And then I asked AI, like, what Chu Yuan might have looked like. And so this is the image of Chu Yuan that AI made. And Li He, a Tang Dynasty poet, also a very interesting poet, also who died young, wrote this poem. And in this poem dedicated to Chu Yuan, he wrote this famous line that witnessed the man who raved at the wall as he wrote his questions of heaven. So it's interesting, kind of like, for me, it's interesting to see how so far back, over 2,000 years ago in warring states, this brilliant human being had this desire, this thirst to understand life, and wrote these profound questions that we were still inspired by. But he was very upset. He was very upset because he didn't feel, the way I understand it, he didn't feel that he can contribute something to the injustice that he saw around him. And now in the world there is so much injustice, and so many people feel disillusioned, feel like pointless, feel like, what can I do about it? And so when we celebrate Chu Yuan, we celebrate not his suicide, because he couldn't take it no longer, right? He thought the life is meaningless. But what we celebrate Chu Yuan because we celebrate his talent, we celebrate his brilliance, and that his questions continue to inspire us.
And yeah, today I'm going to show you with a very special Chinese traditional festival, the Dragon Boat Festival. This festival was originally created to honor Qu Yuan. And when his country was about to fall, he drowned himself into the Miluo River as an act of practice and sorrow. So I said it sounds quite tragic. But we don't celebrate the death itself. We honor his loyalty, integrity, and love for his country. So some of you might think the idea of commemorating someone because they ended their own life might feel, like I said, confusing or even uncomfortable. But in traditional Chinese thought, especially in ancient time, not now, in ancient time, the context and motivation behind an action carried deep moral weight. Taking one's life was not always seen as an act of weakness, but rather, in rare and extreme cases, as a form of protest, a final declaration of one's value, principles, and even unwavering loyalty. So Xu Yuan's death is viewed not as a surrender, but as a statement, a poet's ultimate resistance against oppression, injustice, and the fall of his beloved country. His act was not meant to invoke sorrow, but to awaken conscience. A Dragon Boat Festival is much more than a legend. It's a celebration of, I would say, 3 C's: courage, culture, and community. So it reminds us that even in hard times, holding on to your values is a form of hope. Like, always keep the faith. So I think that's all. Thank
you so much. Thank you so much, Joanne. You learn more about American culture and cultures of the world, and we all learn about cultures and how to make the world a better place.
陈淑媛，你要说什么吗？
Since we are now enjoying the Dragon Boat Festival holiday, we Chinese students are very happy to share our Chinese traditional culture with you. And we hope that through this decision, everyone can develop more interested in our traditional culture. And we famous point Xu Yuan. And maybe if you want to come to China, you can have a try Zongzi. Okay, thank you. That's all.
The students, Evergreen students, wrote such fantastic seminar papers. In their seminar papers, they did both. They answered some of the questions that Xu Yuan was asking in most beautiful and profound ways. And they also took the liberty to say, well, if I would ask questions now of heaven, of the universe, of the world, what would that be? Really, really beautiful work and beautiful artwork too.
I got really inspired by Xu Yuan's questions to heaven and came up with so many of my own. But one of them is just, is there a relationship between faith and science? Is my question. And pass it over to Zarina.
Okay. I kind of just so the haiku goes, the absence of light and the presence of the sun coalesce freely. A mirror forms here, a reflection of her dreams, she who wants to see.
Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, and I will pass it off to Sam.
It's my own question to heaven. I pose sort of a chicken or the egg scenario with heaven and earth. And I ask, are you our child as much as we are yours? Did through our faith and desire to understand the great dark of the unknown spawn you from our fears and hopes? Did thunder and lightning manifest into booming voices of gods, heralding omens upon our lands? As you shaped mountains and streams, did we mold you and fashion your divine clay from the thronging masses of our souls? Did through story and ritual we induce a holy intricate labor that shook our bodies and transcended space-time? Without our flesh and feet upon the soil of earth, would you fade into oblivion, or would you endure over an empty world? Do gods die when their worshippers do? Are lives linked to yours? Yeah. I know, I think about that one a lot. Thank you guys. And I will pass it over to Hunter.
All right, that one was amazing. It's hard to follow that up. But I also did my own questions. My favorite one was, do the oceans still remember when we loved them more than we used them? I believe there's no one left for me to pass it on to, so I'll pass it back to Professor Hirsch.
Thank you so much, Hunter, and thank you, everybody.